Welcome back to the rundown, everybody. It's a new day, it's a new episode, it's a new week. It is snowing like crazy, and everything is getting even more crazy in CSA standings and everything like that. It's myself, Joe Nagy, Brandon Worth joining me. Man, I cannot wait. CSA action is ramping up, Brandon, and it's really chaos right now.
Yes, consolidated chaos is the word that comes to mind for what we're about to witness this Friday night on the men's side as well as on the women's side as well. Next Friday might be just as crazy, if not crazier, but it's going to be a fun week. I mean, CSA tournament time, battling for a chip, no matter what level it is. There's something about that trophy that always gets everyone going, and it's got us going for sure. And we can't wait to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, and we were trying to get this episode out yesterday, but we thought there is so many hypotheticals that could have gone down that we're like, we gotta at least wait till we get some sort of cementation of what's gonna be going down. So at least we have until Friday. We're gonna try to get this out Thursday. Friday is gonna be the big day. We have a fight for three teams who are fighting to get in. Grant, Big Rapids, Newaygo. We did a huge little bit of kind of, I guess you could say math. I don't know what that was yesterday, Brandon, but we kind of did a little bit of I guess speculation of who is going to make it in. And Brandon, if you want to give the rundown or the lowdown on what's going on with these top four, top five teams, be my guest.
All right, we'll get into it. I had to stay up pretty late last night, so the coffee is
I
certainly
say you
starting to
never
kick
drink.
in
I'd
here.
never seen you drink coffee, so I'm surprised you're drinking it.
It doesn't happen very often, but no. So here we go. Based on what we had last night, so based on the results, which we'll catch you up here if you've missed out on anything from Wednesday night. We had a couple games. Big Rapids taking business against Chippewa Hills on the road. A little bit of a sloppy game for the Cards. They still get the job done. So they boost themselves 7-2 in conference play. Still at now sitting in fourth. Now, the game we were all watching, White Cloud and Grant, we were trying to get scores throughout the broadcast. Everyone was keeping this one on the DL, and maybe it was because we were reaching out to Grant, and that's because they got beat by White Cloud. It was 77-70. The Indians went on the road in what was an offensive slugfest from both of those teams. So right now, as we are recording this, and this will be as of Thursday, Reed City at the top, 9-0 in the conference. White Cloud right behind. This, of course, being in boys action. We'll get to the girls here in just a little bit as well later on in the episode. Grant 7-2 in third, holding the tiebreaker head-to-head over Big Rapids at 7-2 as well. In the third and fourth spots, Newaygo right on the outside looking in. They are the last team out in fifth at 6-3. Now, what happens on Friday? Because here's what's going on. Reed City and White Cloud are facing off against each other. That is 1v2. And believe it or not, as dominant as a season Reed City has had, 9-0, 16-3 overall. If the Indians, who are hosting this contest, do you mind, hosting this game in White Cloud, if White Cloud beats Reed City, that will not both teams at 9-1. White Cloud gets the number one seed due to the individual head-to-head with Reed City in that spot. As crazy as it could sound, we could have the CSA tournament in White Cloud if the Indians pull off the upset and beat the Counts on Friday night. Also, Big Rapids will be hosting Newaygo. This game has major implications. It's win and you're in. Big Rapids right now at 7-2. If they were to win against Newaygo, they're in no matter what. It'll just be determining of seeding based on how the other two games will turn out as well with Grant and Kent City. But we'll mention that here in just a little bit. Newaygo, if they can upset Big Rapids at home on Friday, on the road, they get a win. They are in virtue of that tiebreaker at 7-2. They would be both 7-3 at that point. They would get in over Big Rapids with the individual head-to-head. The Cardinals would be out if they lost on Friday night. There's a lot of hypotheticals within this as well for seeding. And there's some pretty wild, crazy, chaotic things that could happen. And of course, we'll be watching the Grant-Kent City game because this game means a lot of implications as well. Grant, of course, coming off of a loss. Now they're going to have to play Kent City, a team that has played a little bit better over the last couple of weeks. Now, if they were to, Kent City that is, were to beat Grant, that would bump the Tigers down to 7-3. That would put them in a position now where they would be in a head-to-head with Newaygo. They would still trump them with that win against the Lions, so they'd be the 3 seed. Even though that Newaygo would have won that game. But if Grant were to have lost that game, they would still stay there. But in the case of Big Rapids winning, Grant losing, that flips Big Rapids up into that number 3 spot, Grant into that number 4 spot. Now, here's the even more fun kicker. If Reed City beats White Cloud in that hypothetical scenario, Big Rapids would still be at 8-2. Grant would also be at 7-3. White Cloud would be at 8-2. Remember back in the old matchup, Big Rapids won at White Cloud. Now you're talking the Cardinals as a team that could have been knocked out on Friday has a chance for a 2 seed hypothetically on paper. I mean, it doesn't get more crazier than that. And we're talking about White Cloud just sneaking in as a 4 seed into this tournament after potentially having a number 1 seed on Friday. The math just makes perfect no sense.
That is, yeah, it just doesn't really make anything. That is just the wildest thing about it. And the thing is, I'm really looking forward to this Grant Kent City game that you alluded to, because Kent City, they beat excuse me, uh Kent City did pretty solid against some of these good teams. They've had some like low down scores, especially against those teams that are a little bit higher up in division, but they've done pretty solid against some teams like Reed City, who they only lost to by 1, which is kind of that's a feat in and of itself for them to be middle of the road in the CSAA team. And especially that was kind of in January, right after the break happened. So maybe just a little bit of break jitters and stuff like that. But still, if you're able to get it within 1 and still lose to Reed City at Reed City, I think you're going to see a solid game against Grant, because that one's going to be in Grant as well. They're going to be playing Howard City. They're going to be playing Tri-County, excuse me, or they did play Tri-County, so we'll see how that plays out. And they'll get some much needed momentum going in from that one. So I'm honestly looking to see how Grant does in that game, because if they win, I think that's going to give them some solid momentum going into the CSAA tournament. But like I said, we have literally no clue what's going to happen. And the only thing we know is this: Reed City, White Cloud, those are the only 2 that are going to be in for sure. We'll see if Grant, Big Rapids, and Newaygo kind of figure out where they're going to be between that trio. But I'm looking forward to it, Brandon.
Yeah, it's going to be wild for sure, and we'll obviously be covering this as much as we can on Friday. I think it's going to be wild because we're going to have people texting all of us left and right. What are scores? I'll probably get texts, even though I've tried to let people know ahead of time. I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be a fan as well, listening with everybody else over this chaotic Friday we have coming up tomorrow. But no, this is just crazy because if the fact of it is, we looked at so many of these teams and we're like, wow, there's such a big distant gap. And now there's really 4 teams that are within a game of each other. It's just going to create a crazy chaotic stretch. And as crazy as it may be, we talk about 1 through 4 seeding might be scattered. The biggest thing that comes down to it is home court advantage could be a huge get for one of these teams, because you look at a lot of these teams significantly. Grant has played very well on the road this year. White Cloud's also played very well. Big Rapids hasn't played their best basketball on the road. And so when you consider it, Big Rapids getting up into a 2 seed would be like the Christmas miracle, a Cinderella story, if you will, to get to that 2 spot and be able to host round 1. I mean, that would be a huge gift. Now, they're going to need a lot of help from Kent City, who hasn't posted their score against Tri-County yet. You're wondering if that's a strategy? I'm not sure if that's exactly what they're going for, to try to hold it on the DL, just to keep everybody a little bit curious, like, hey, what's going on over there? Are they trying to play a little secretive, try to play spoiler, trying to give out as little information as possible? You never know. So I think it's going to be really fun. But I mean, the fact of the matter is, for Big Rapids, you got to win to get in first and foremost on Friday. Let the other games sort themselves out later on, just to make this tournament as well. As Grant, you got to win to get in. Make sure that you take care of business against Kent City, and especially, I mean, Reed City and White Cloud, it's 1v2. Now, even though both these 2 teams are in, they're fighting for that 1 spot. They're fighting for the right to host every game they win in the CSA tournament. That's a huge advantage, and that's going to be a heck of a matchup in White Cloud tomorrow night.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. It is all but set in stone. The only thing we know is that Reed City is going to be top. Well, yeah, they might be top dog. We don't even know that. That's the thing. I thought that was a definite, but it is
We
not.
don't
So
know
that's
that
the
anymore
best part
now.
about it. You got to tune in Friday. I'll be on the call for Big Rapids. Brandon will not be there, like he said, but I'll try my best to replicate Brandon's electrifying call. So we'll try that out. But we're definitely looking forward to it, and we'll try to keep as much of you guys in the loop as we can, because we're going to be reaching out and figuring out what scores are going on. So I'm looking forward to it. Brandon, what do you want to talk about next? We got a whole slate.
We do. We'll get to the half court shots here in a little bit, but I think we should go over to the girls' side as well because I think there's much more intriguing as well matchups coming up for this upcoming week. Now, not necessarily as direct correlations. We'll have a potential 1-2 matchup in the final game of the regular season, which not I mean we just had the Super Bowl and obviously that whole it was this scripted. I don't understand how this is all just turning out to be we couldn't create more chaos in the last game of the regular season on both the boys and the girls side because I mean you look at the girls side, you look at the top two teams. Grant's undefeated at 8-0. When we Stanwood is 7-1. Those two teams are playing on the final Friday of the regular season next week. I don't know who set this up. They obviously knew something that we didn't know because they certainly put it together where they knew these two teams would be the top two teams. They'd be playing each other for the right to host a home court, assuming neither of them lose going into that matchup. But I think it's going to be crazy. You have Kent City as well, Reed City, third and fourth respectively. Big Rapids arguably has been one of the hottest teams in the second half. They're now creeping up the ladder. They're only a game out of being in this tournament. So I think there's going to be a lot of intrigue coming into the last week of the regular season on that side as well. As you'll see a couple teams, you won't see as many direct matchups like you have on the boys' side where 4 out of the 5 teams in contention are playing against one another. In the sense of on this side, you only, I believe, have the Grant and Morley matchup. Every team would be playing a bottom half team for Kent City, Reed City, and Big Rapids. But I think there's still going to be a lot of intrigue because, I mean, the race between right now 5th and 8th is really only a game in a sense. I mean, theoretically, math terms, it's 2 games, but just because of some of these games early on that have already been played, you have to consider that some teams are a game ahead in their schedule as well. So you have to take that in mind. But I think it's going to be very interesting the fact that these teams will also have a non-conference matchup next Tuesday, most of them, going into the Friday matchups that we have next week. But I mean, even for this upcoming week, we still got some great games. I mean, you got Big Rapids hosting Newaygo. That should be a very interesting matchup. 2 teams that are fighting to stay in the hunt. And then you have a couple other ones of rivalry kind of games, not necessarily true rivalries, but you got Reed City obviously going to White Cloud. You got a really nice game up at the top as well, Moe Stanwood and Grant, who will be playing each other later on, but they have both interesting matchups, very winnable matchups going into this week as well. So it's going to be very interesting. I'll be curious to see what the girls' side has on deck as well, because we have a lot of really intrigue going into the final week, and it's just going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's the same exact situation as the boys, but there's even more teams in the hunt, especially since there's an extra week of regular season play for the girls. You could even see Central Montcalm maybe sneak in there if a lot of the teams up above have a tough stretch in these last 2 weeks. So we'll see how this one plays out. That one's going to be interesting. We'll also be talking about that next week too, kind of in tandem with the CSAA tournament kind of recap and preview of the championship game. We're going to be trying to get that out. So it's wild. I mean, you would never expect this at the start of the year, but this is exactly what you want, especially with late season theatrics. Even before the district playoffs, we're getting a little precursor and just a little bit of a crumb of what we could see in the CSAA playoffs. So we don't know who's going to be the champion, but there's a lot of teams who are in the running for it for both sides, boys and girls, and we cannot wait to bring it to you guys when it all happens. Cannot wait. Anyways, Brandon, half court time. Clock's winding
Half
down. We
court
got to let the
time.
shot fly. Do you think? What category should we do today? Should we do boys CSA tournament? What do you want to do?
Man, I don't know. I think we should go seeding here. I think we should go
All
seeding.
right.
We'll see
All
on
right.
these matchups. So I'll start on the boys' side. They're looking a lot into this matchup. Um, there can be a lot of intrigue on just creating mass chaos, and I'll take all the upsets, but I'm not going to necessarily do that. I'll go realistically. I think right now, I'm very intrigued to see how Reed City plays at White Cloud, and I'm not necessarily concerned about them playing on the road because they're a good road team. I'm more concerned of White Cloud is playing off of a really good game against Grant. They have a lot of confidence. They won on the road at that gym. Me and you both know, Joe, how hard it is to play in that gym. And the fact they put up 77, I mean, that's a big offensive performance for them. They didn't have their best defensive game, but they still won the basketball game. That's huge for them. So if they were to win this game, I mean, you're talking a potential matchup between White Cloud and Big Rapids in round one once again at White Cloud, back to the same place. That's a place that Big Rapids won. So if White Cloud wants a revenge tour, that's exactly where they're going to get it in that round one matchup. So I think right now, if I were to go off the seeding on what I think is going to happen, I think we are going to see Reed City pick up a win against White Cloud at home. I'll call it here first. Then I think we will see Grant do beat Kent City. I want to pick the upset, of course. I want to get intrigued, but I think Grant will bounce back. I think their offense is too good. They'll get by Kent City, who's given up a lot of points over the last couple games, despite their defensive prowess. And I think Big Rapids wins. So I think you have a situation where we will see the standings say exactly where they are right now. I know it's boring, but I think that's what's going to happen based on what we have. Joe can be the one that gives you all the fun Cinderella story type of vibes with his seating selection. But I think we'll see Reed City 1, White Cloud 2, Grant 3, Big Rapids 4 heading into the tournament. And you know what that means? That means we got a rematch of 131 in the semis back at the Den round 1. And you got White Cloud and Grant playing back at each other. This time, Grant gets to get potential revenge at White Cloud. How fun does that sound?
I like the way that sounds, Brandon. You're right. I'm gonna give the fans what they want. I'm going for the upset scenarios. I don't think Reed City's gonna lose to White Cloud. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think Reed City's gonna stay the one. They're gonna get that home court advantage for the first round because that is honestly that was my least favorite gym to play in. No disrespect, just the one side. It's a weird feeling, especially kind of when you're playing and just you see one side is a wall and the other side's stands. It's just a weird little setup. I'm not gonna lie. So Reed City chalked that one up as a W against White Cloud. Grant, though, I think they're gonna lose to Kent City. I want to not just for the sake of wanting the Cinderella to win. I just think, especially this Friday, you see it last game of the season. There's a lot of pressure riding on it for Grant. Kent City's got nothing to lose. Grant's got everything. If they lose this one, they drop down to 4. If they wanted to win, they might be able to go up to 2. But the thing is they got a lot more riding on this game than Kent City. Nerves might be getting them. And the thing is it's at Grant. That's also a tough gym to play in. But I think Kent City's going to be able to come in there. They're going to be a little bit more level-headed. I think they're going to start out hot. And I think they're just going to have just all of a sudden nice little spurt of just playing good defense. They're going to hold them down to some good points. And the thing is, Grant especially has just been, you've seen it as they've been able to just do pretty well. I mean, you said it already with that White Cloud game putting up 70 points, not the best for them to, I guess, defensive wise, letting up 77. I think that's going to carry it over because they let up 74 against Central Montcalm as well. You're going to see Kent City take the W there. I don't know the score. It's probably going to be in the 70s, but you can bet on Kent City getting the win there, and Grant's going to move down. Big Rapids, though, I think you're going to get the win. I want to call a win. I hope it's very close. I hope it's also very exciting, so that way I can make it fun for the people to listen to. But I think Big Rapids is going to win it, and there's going to be the unicorn situation where Big Rapids moves up to 2, White Cloud's going to go to 3, Grant's going to go to 4, and we're going to see that right there.
What a scenario. What a scenario that would be. And it's certainly be fun to see. And don't count out Kent City. Minus the result that's being withheld in the darkness of mystery in that Tri-County game. They've won 3 of the last 4, including a dominant win at Central Montcalm. So do be in mind, this is a team that is playing with their best foot forward after a little bit of a skid here early on and during mid-season. So, hey, never say never, and it is almost March time, so maybe they can get a little bit of that March Madness to sprinkle over a couple days early into the month of February.
We don't know what's going to happen, but obviously time will tell. We're not geniuses. We're not genies or whatever it is. The future tellers, what are those guys? Who can
I
see
have
in
no
the
idea.
future? I don't know. Well, anyways.
Nostradamus? Are you talking about Nostradamus?
Sure.
You are Nostradamus, yes.
Sure.
You're just
Okay.
speaking it into existence based off of prophecy that you
manifesting
have
it.
therefore just formulated in your brain.
I'm manifesting it, but we'll see how it plays out. At the moment, it's Reed City, White Cloud, Grant, and Big Rapids. Could be switched up with those 4 teams in any order, or it could just be chalk at the end of the day, and we'll see how the whole thing plays out. And we could just be the guys who are yelling at the sun outside because we're crazy. So we don't know what's going to go down. But yeah,
if there is any sun. If there is,
true.
we have
It's
all we
snowing
have
like
is
wild.
just snow outside right now.
Snowing like wild. My commute took like 20 extra minutes to work today. It was the worst thing ever.
Yeah,
It
but
was
yeah, it'll
miserable.
certainly be interesting. But I'll go into the girls' side as well here just before we touch off and go get everybody on their merry way. I mean, early prediction, I think we could see, obviously, Grant, Molly Stanwood, Kent City, Reed City in that order. I think we see Molly Stanwood get revenge on Grant. I will call that one right now next week. I think the Mohawks get the job done. They will finish 8-1. They'll leapfrog over Grant into that top spot. And then the interesting part is you got Kent City, Reed City, and Big Rapids right behind. I think Montcalm has a chance at 4-4.
Montcalm's got to win out. Montcalm's got to win out and have like everybody above them lose 2 games, I think, at least.
I
I
think
think that's
so,
how they
yeah.
have to get in.
It's going to be a tough task for them to get it. They're going to need some help. And based off what I'm seeing from the schedule, I don't know if they're going to get as much help as they need to get in, just based off it. But I think the most intriguing game will obviously be Kent City Grant will be on this Friday. And if Kent City were to lose that game, because do be in mind, Kent City right now is on an absolute heater right now on the women's side. They have been
They're
dominating.
rolling, dude.
They have counted, I believe, 9 straight wins since they had a loss to Reed City at Reed City, and it was only a 5-point loss. So since then, they have been rolling, and most of those games have been on the road. They're going on the road. If they were to beat Grant, that's going to create some crazy situation. I'll be very interested to follow that game, but I think Grant will probably sneak through that game, and that's going to put Kent City there with Reed City both at a potential 6-3 scenario if Reed City were to slip up in one of these final games like at Central Montcalm later on in the season. But that would help flip-flop Reed City into that number 3 spot. Now you got Kent City and Big Rapids battling it out. Hopefully either team can outlast one another, and that's going to create a very interesting down the stretch. I think Grant, or it'll be Moistan with Grant, Reed City, and we could see Big Rapids into that 4 spot. That's obviously what we want. Right now, I think the favorite is going to be Kent City. If Kent City does not make this tournament, that is going to be a shame for how good of a basketball team they are right now in this season, especially the second half they've
Announce your
had.
retirement if they don't make it in. You're gonna be like, "I'll retire if they don't make it in." You're gonna be like Mad Dog, that analyst.
Mad Dog, yeah. If they were to not make the tournament, I will put my letter of resignation on your desk tomorrow morning. I will do it. No, I don't know if I'll do that because I love my job. But I will tell you what, it'll be very, very interesting to come into that office knowing that we're not going to have Kent City women's basketball in the tournament for how well they've played this year. I will tell you that. That will be crazy. I think they could still squeak in, but hey, Big Rapids also has been just as hot in the second half, so don't count them out either.
I was gonna say Eagles and Cardinals are flying high, and they've been just on a roll. So we'll see how that one also goes. We'll kind of go more in depth, I think, next week when things are a little bit more set in stone, just kind of how we did for the boys' side. So we see how it plays out. But next week we're gonna have in depth on what went down for the first round of CSAA playoffs, as well as going into final predictions for that championship game. We don't know who's gonna be in it. We're excited to see who it is, and then obviously we'll go into the girls' side and kind of talk about what we can expect for CSAA tournament wise. How's that sound, Brandon?
Sounds like a good time. I'm all for it.
Nice. That's going to be it for the rundown. Hopefully, you guys have a fantastic day. It's been me, Joe, and Brandon. See you, everybody.